to another episode of Polar Opposites. I'm Matt, along with Craig Hofeld of the Thunder Guys, both of us with Heartland Sports, heartland-sports.com, finding all kinds of coverage on the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are riding a little bit of a win streak following a four-game losing streak. The Thunder with wins over San Antonio, and then also with the win over Utah, who leads them in the division. Okay, Craig, so last time we talked, it wasn't great news. I mean, your job in this thing is to find something to be optimistic about from the fan base. I'm more of the realist or hater in this relationship here. But really, when you look at a win against San Antonio and a win against Utah, San Antonio has a chance to get the 1 seed, a legitimate chance now. We'll talk about that here in a minute. Utah leads the division. As a fan, seeing the Thunder overcome that losing streak all to sub-500 teams and then come back around and beat two really good teams, does that elate you, make you happy, or does it frustrate you to know that they can beat those type of teams, but yet they lose 4 in a row to sub-500?
Yeah, it's definitely frustrating. And I saw several people on the Twitter world, the Thunder Twitter world, talking about that. But yeah, I'm happy that they ended the losing streak, obviously. I believe the Jazz also had injuries when the Thunder played them, so both teams weren't at full strength.
I was going to get to that, but let's stay with this line of
thinking first. So that's on my mind as well. But yeah, definitely good to pick up. San Antonio was on the road, correct?
No, was it? I don't know. I don't know. You're the Thunder fan.
I know, but I've been working a lot. I didn't even really get to watch these games.
I'm quite.
I know Utah was at home.
I got you right here. Yeah, San Antonio was at home.
Okay, so both at home? Yeah.
So,
and that San Antonio game was probably the best complete game as a team that the Thunder have played all season.
Okay, so you mentioned it. So we'll jump into that. I got one more thing to bring up about the winning streak, but we'll jump into this first. You mentioned it. San Antonio loses Kawhi Leonard to a concussion at some point in that game.
Mm-hmm.
I think you could make the argument, though, that... even when Kawhi Leonard was playing, he was a factor, but the Thunder kind of led that game from start to finish. So I don't know why it's worth noting, and this is me as the quote hater. So you got to give me some credit here. Why it's worth noting that Kawhi Leonard left that game with a concussion. I'm not for sure you can make an argument that it makes that much difference if he stays in the game.
Right. No,
now,
I agree.
The flip side of that is, the Utah win, the Jazz are without Derek Favors, without Marcin Gortat,
Mm-hmm.
two of their key guys. George Hill's coming back off of a toe injury, his first game back. Do you feel like you can make a case and be cautiously optimistic? Still be optimistic because you beat him, but is there more caution when you approach the Utah game just because you don't know what it would have been like with Gortat and a healthy George Hill and with Derek Favors, or is it just like, hey, it is what it is, we won, shut up and let's move on?
Right, yeah, absolutely, because Utah has been dominating inside when they play the Thunder, and so but it was the opposite this last go around. So I think having Gortat out was a big difference there.
All right, so the Thunder 6-4 in their last 10. They're on a 2-game winning streak. For the season, they're 37-26.
29?
Yeah, that's what I said. 37-29. Here's my question: when you look at the standings for the Western Conference, first of all, do you have a preference where you want to be, or do you just want to be in the playoffs?
I want to be in the playoffs, but
right. And I think we would both agree that it would take something astronomical for Oklahoma City not to be in the playoffs at this point.
Got the 6-game cushion there. But no, I don't want to play Houston because that's where we're playing right now. That's who we would be playing.
Yeah, but so you've changed on that a little bit since the last time we recorded.
Have I?
Yeah.
What did I say last time?
Because last time you were like, I don't care.
Oh, yeah, I said Houston in the playoffs.
Yeah,
it is true. But, they're having an outstanding year shooting. And I think the Thunder have some major issues with perimeter defense.
Which, by the way, your buddy, we'll give him a shout-out, Zach Lowe, disagreed with you a little bit on that. Y'all need to get together and talk.
We disagree on a lot of things.
The Thunder guys are not in unison right now.
Let's see.
So you don't really care. At this point, you just want to avoid Houston, but you're there against Houston with the number 6 seed.
Yeah.
So the question I'm asking is, can In your opinion, can Oklahoma City catch my Clippers? My Clippers sitting in the 5 seed right now would draw Utah in the first round. Do you think the Thunder can make up 3 games?
3 games? There's 16 games left.
Right.
So
this is going to be our first debate where I want to.
So you're going to say no, obviously.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to say no. I'm going to tell you why. Other than the fact that I'm a Clippers fan, I'm going to tell you why I don't believe the Thunder can catch them. But I really want to know your opinion.
Before I say that, are you going to say no because of the road trips?
I'm not going to tip my hat.
So
that is one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons. And you saw my notes, you big cheater.
I feel like I have to say yes. But that's not what I really think is going to happen.
So you're saying that you feel like they're locked in at number 6? Because I don't think. I mean, I was gonna say I don't think they'll drop to 7. But
because Memphis is struggling.
They're struggling, but they're just 1 game out, and I'm pretty sure the Thunder and the Grizzlies have at least 1 game left with each other.
Yeah. See, 3 games and 16. Make up 3 games with only 16 games left. That's going to be rough. It's definitely possible. But they would. The thing this season with the Thunder is that they haven't been able to put together a long win streak.
Right.
I think 6 or 7 is the longest they've had, and so that would need to happen. And so far, I haven't seen any reason, or I haven't been given a reason to believe that can happen. But I mean, heading into the playoffs, that would definitely, to go into the playoffs with a good winning streak and make up some ground there. But Utah also kind of scares me if we did get the 5. I think what I'm realizing is
who would you be comfortable in playing in the playoffs at this point?
I honestly wouldn't be upset if we had to play Golden State in the first round. If San Antonio did get the 1 seed and we somehow fell back down to the 7th.
Do you feel like falling to the 7th is more of a realistic possibility than rising to the 5th?
I think it's more realistic, but I don't think it's going to happen. So my answer is the Thunder are staying at the 6th seed.
At the 6th seed.
Yeah.
So then you've answered my question by they're not going to catch the Clippers.
No.
And well, I've got a bunch of information for this argument anyway, even though you're not going to argue with me, because this is stuff that I really, as the fan that you are, I want to know your take on this, because I look at the Thunder schedule. Now they've got a 3-game. Well, they're going on the road for 2 games, Brooklyn and Toronto.
Toronto will be tough.
Yeah, we're agreed. There's no excuse, no reason to even worry about Brooklyn.
No.
Brooklyn's the worst team in the NBA. You agree? Or you think? I mean, they're worse than. You used to think worst team in the NBA is Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And I think Philadelphia has like 5 or 6 games on Brooklyn. You're gonna pull out the stats again.
I am. I'm gonna look at the standings here.
So because Brooklyn is terrible. I mean, Brooklyn's
11-53. Yeah.
And what's Philadelphia? Should be right above them.
Yeah. 23 and 42.
So they got 12 games on Brooklyn.
Holy
All right, so
cow.
you're going to go to Brooklyn, and then you're going to go to Toronto, and you've already said that Toronto's, in your opinion, Toronto's the team to worry about on this road trip. But then you come home for a 3-game stand, and sandwiched in between Sacramento and Philadelphia is Golden State, without Kevin Durant.
Right.
I think you look at the next 5. And there's at least 3 wins there. You would think immediately there's at least 3 wins there, with Sacramento, Philadelphia, and Brooklyn not being good teams. But can you pick up a 4th win either on the road at Toronto or at home against Golden State? Let me ask you this. Put it this way: is it which one is more critical, to win on the road based off of the way this team has played on the road this year, or to beat Golden State even though Kevin Durant's not playing?
I would say to beat Golden State at home. Because that does more for, I feel like, more for the team to get a win. Even though Kevin Durant's out, to still get a win against Golden State. They won, let's see here. They won 3 in a row to end the season last year, right?
Sure, you're the fan.
Yeah. And then they beat us 3 times this. So they've won 6 games in a row against the Thunder.
Yeah, I think their winning streak is even greater against the Clippers. Just throwing that out there.
I think so too. It's like,
I think it's been like a couple of years since the Clippers have beaten them. So no, I don't want any part of Golden State early in the playoffs. I want someone else to wear them down and maybe see an injury pop up or 2. Okay, so here's my thing. If I'm a Thunder fan, which clearly I'm not, but looking at it, here's what worries me. We talked last week a little bit about Oklahoma City's their road record, which is atrocious.
Right.
And you've got 2 significant road trips left. March 26th and 29th, you're at Houston, at Dallas, at Orlando. And then the end of the season, I mean, this sucks, dude. To end the season, you've got at Memphis, Phoenix, Denver, Minnesota. So you've got a 4-game road swing, and I think there's one more home game for the finale.
Thrown in there, yeah.
After Minnesota.
Okay.
So you're playing 4 consecutive in the road, and then you've got one more after the Minnesota game.
Right.
And the reason why I like where the Lakers are, the Lakers. Oh man. The reason I like where the Clippers are, I just looked at my notes here and I saw the Lakers, because the Clippers only have the rest of the season. They've only got one stretch where they play back-to-back games on the road. They play March 21st and 23rd. They play at the Lakers and at Dallas. That's it for back-to-back. Beyond that, the Clippers are most of their games are I mean, they play on the road, but there's no back-to-backs on the road. So that's the reason why I like where LA is. I don't think LA is going to move up at all. I think if you were asking
they're
me,
only 1 game behind Utah, yeah?
Yeah, but I just don't. They're not playing great. That's the thing. Is they're not.
Can they stay healthy?
It's the Clippers.
That's what I'm saying. So
I mean, they're healthy. They're healthy right now, but I mean, have they
at any given moment?
Any given moment, man. I mean, if you're looking to get into sports medicine, you want to work for a franchise like the Clippers. The Clippers are the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, that's where you want to go to work. But right now they're 1 game behind Utah, which could put them at 4. I don't know, man. I don't know. Your Thunder did me a favor yesterday, but they still drop mystery games. I mean, you're not going to like me saying this, but a Thunder fan and a Clipper fan could mirror each other a little bit with how they beat that team, but they lost to that team. Or why does this guy keep getting injured? So, okay, here's the second thing I want to talk to you about, because there's not a game really to preview until Tuesday. But second thing I want to throw out here is the MVP race. Who's your MVP at this point? With less than 20 games left in the season, who you got MVP?
The MVP talk is so hard for me because there's so many different arguments. I mean, you can look at James Harden's season. What's he got here? 28, 20, 30, so basically 29 points a game, 11.2 assists.
Right.
And then obviously they've got the better record over the Thunder for, Russell Westbrook's having a better statistical season.
Well, statistically, he's having a better season in the points department. He's not dishing out as many assists as James Harden.
But rebounds.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, I'll give you rebound. You're right. Okay.
But also, Westbrook doesn't have the shooters that James Harden has.
I mean, I get that argument. I do. But when you're less than, you're 1 assist behind James Harden.
Right. So I'm saying if Westbrook had these guys to knock down these shots, how many assists would he be having per game?
What I'm saying is, I don't think. Look, who does James Harden have? Name a clutch shooter for the Rockets.
Clutch?
Yeah. Because you don't have one other than if you're going to take the ball out of James Harden's hand, don't pull up the roster.
No,
don't cheat. If you're going to take the ball out of James Harden's hand, who do you want to go to? Eric Gordon?
I guess.
Lou Williams? Ryan Anderson? I would say this. I do think with Ryan Anderson, Houston is better from the perimeter with big men than Oklahoma City is. But I think I look at it in these two guys. We're agreed that if you remove either one of them from their team, both teams are in significant trouble, right?
Right. But which team would do worse? I'm going to say the Thunder.
But I don't know. I don't know. If you compare roster, go down starting 5. James Harden is here's why I like James Harden, because he's run both the 1 and the 2.
Mm-hmm. So as does Westbrook.
Right, but Westbrook does it out of necessity more than anything else. don't forget the Rockets still have Patrick Beverly. He's supposed to be the one.
Right.
But James Harden is one or two, and then Patrick Beverly is just an extra guy on the floor at that point. So I like that about him. I like the fact that the Rockets are over 20 games above 500, and the Thunder are less than 10 games above 500. And when you look at, I mean, but I don't know, man. I mean, who would you take if you had to pick a guy, Patrick Beverly or Victor Oladipo? Who are you taking?
Victor Oladipo.
If you had to take a center, are you taking Clint Capella or are you taking Steven Adams?
Steven Adams, but I feel like I feel like these aren't fair questions.
No, I'm making the point that when you look at these two teams, you remove the superstar. I mean, I think when I look at it, I think there's two guys. There's two guys on. Well, I don't even know why I say that now that and we didn't even talk about Taj Gibson. I want to come back to that. But now that Taj Gibson's moved into the starting five, do you take Taj Gibson over Ryan Anderson? I don't think I do.
No.
I would take Taj Gibson over Sabonis. I mean, I take Ryan Anderson over Sabonis.
Right. Wait. So you wouldn't take Anderson over Taj Gibson?
No, I would take Taj Gibson. The point I'm making is when you pull these guys out, I think the only guy I would take on the Rockets over when you were just talking starting five, I think the only guy that I would take at this point would be Eric Gordon, and I don't even know that he's a starter anymore.
The thing that makes Houston so good is they've got.
In fact, I'm sorry, I don't think I'm not thinking about. I think Eric Gordon comes off the bench, so I don't know if there's a single guy on the Rockets starting five I'd take over a guy on the Thunder starting five.
The thing that makes Houston so good is they've got. Ryan Anderson shoots 40% from the three. How many does he take though? I mean, he shoots him a couple of games, doesn't he?
He's averaging over. I don't know how many are three, but I know he's averaging over 10 shots a game.
Yeah, but Lou Williams 36%, Eric Gordon 38%, Harden 36%, Patrick Beverly 39%. So I'm saying, all I was saying earlier was that James Harden has these guys to knock down shots, and I don't feel like Westbrook has that. Although recently the Thunder have looked really good against San Antonio and Utah because they were making those shots.
Because they hit rock bottom against Dallas.
So, yeah, that's interesting looking. They've got almost seven guys, averaging 10 points or more a game.
But yet, again, it goes. My counter argument is, who do you take off this Houston roster above someone on Oklahoma City? That's the point I'm making.
I get it. Yeah.
I mean, and I'm not. And again, we're looking at just to clarify any type of homerism. You're the homer, I'm the hater, and I'm still thinking I like this Oklahoma City roster better without Westbrook than I like the Houston roster without Harden. Now let me ask you this though: when we're talking about the MVP, does Kawhi Leonard play in there at any point? Because Kawhi Leonard's quietly he's just not the guy that he doesn't get the Russell Westbrook publicity. He's not, and don't take this the wrong way, but he's not boisterous and flamboyant like Russell Westbrook is. He's not the character that James Harden is. But, I mean, kid's having a heck of a season. And now the Spurs are knocking on the door. They're a half a game back of the number one seed. Does Kawhi Leonard sneak in there in this MVP race?
I think the thing with Kawhi Leonard is he does exactly what San Antonio needs for them to, like, he does his part, which is he doesn't have the stats obviously to keep up with Westbrook and James Harden, but he doesn't need to do that. And so it would be a different type of MVP. Like, he would be. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel like there's ever been, if he were to win it, I don't think there would ever have been previously an MVP like him. He leads San Antonio in basically every stat.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. We're talking about guys. Now, I think the one thing that with Kawhi Leonard that I think you could really, what you said about James Harden, I think really applies more to Kawhi Leonard in that if you remove Kawhi Leonard from that team, they're still pretty good.
Right.
I mean, they're not number one seed good, but they're still pretty good.
Yeah.
Does that not also make Kawhi Leonard that much more valuable. That he's that guy that could push him to the number 1
Right.
seed. You know,
Yeah.
we're talking about James Harden pushing Houston into a top 4 seed. We're talking about Russell Westbrook getting Oklahoma City back in the playoffs. But Kawhi Leonard comes in. His value is getting the Spurs almost to a number 1 seed. Does that help or hurt him?
It helps him. And earlier when I said that he doesn't have the stats, he doesn't have the offensive stats, but he also his defense is outstanding, and so you can also throw that in there for his argument. So I definitely think his name should be, in the talk, but I don't think he'll finish in the top 2 for MVP. I think he'll come in at number 3 behind either Westbrook and Harden.
So you think it's Westbrook and Harden number 1 and number 2? Not in any particular order. But
you're saying Harden for MVP, and I'm not disagreeing with you.
Yeah, I think it's Harden's. That's just my opinion. I think for all the things we talked about, I think both of them. If there was a year that you could actually give a co-MVP, it would be this year, because both of those guys, in my opinion, have clearly been the 2 best players in the league this year, and at various times have made a statement to be the best player in the league.
Right.
They both had those moments. I feel like Harden has taken Houston further than Westbrook's taken Oklahoma City. But I find it interesting that we've talked about 3 guys, and they're all from the Western Conference.
Right.
And then the reigning world champions are in the Eastern Conference. Is there anybody, like a LeBron James or
Isaiah Thomas?
I was very close to saying LeBron James. Isaiah. That's exactly what I was thinking about.
Yeah. But real quick, I told Zach earlier this year that I didn't think Westbrook would win MVP, and here's why. I don't know if it's been a long time or forever that an MVP. That was horrible. Forever is a long time. It's either never happened or it's been a long time that an MVP has finished. Their team has finished lower than the 4 seed, and they've shot under 45%. And Westbrook falls under both of those categories, shooting 42%, and the Thunder sitting in the 6th seed. And I think while he is having all those triple doubles and all these great games, I think where the Thunder stand in the rankings and his shooting percentage is ultimately going to give it to Harden in the end.
But Rich DeCray, who covers Oklahoma sports for us at Heartland Sports, he made up a good point. Not made it up. He made a good point. He made a good point about Harden. A knock is that the turnovers.
Yeah.
That and again, this is an unverified stat, but he said that Harden leads the NBA in turnovers. So can you, like you're saying about Russell Westbrook, but can you win the MVP if you lead the league in turnovers?
Yeah, that is a good point. But also to look at, he leads the league in turnovers, and he plays more minutes, than Westbrook. Right. So, but Westbrook also has the highest user rating. Is that the right term there? So he's got the ball more. So I think that is a telling stat there. I'm trying to see.
My counter argument to that is the guy's not a true point guard, and so when you got a 2 guard playing the 1, I think you're more prone to turning the ball over. But I think when you look at the upside of that, it's worth it to turn it over a couple more times just to get what Harden can provide.
Real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna say James Harden is playing 36 minutes a game. Westbrook is playing almost 35. But I was going to say, do you think it's crazy that Russell Westbrook is only playing an extra 30 seconds per game this year than he did last year with Kevin Durant on the team? Does that surprise you?
No, because I feel like Donovan, and even going back to Scott Brooks, you want to maximize what you can get out of Russell Westbrook. I don't think.
So you're saying more minutes would be less production for Westbrook?
No, what I'm saying is I think they already had him maxed out on what they could get out of him, minutes wise. What bothers me about Westbrook as an outsider, it's not the minutes he plays, but it's the pace that he plays.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And what I worry about is, can you? And I guess he's going to do it because we're reaching the end of the season. But can you go through a full season? He only has 1 speed.
Right.
And that's got to take its toll on a body. But maybe he's superhuman.
I think he is.
Because he's reached this point in the season, and again, it's not the minutes to me; it's the pace.
Right.
And he plays so angry, But he's in this. I'm just going to give you the narrative. Here's what's going to happen: is I entered the season with the mindset that Oklahoma City would need him to do that, and I questioned whether he could make it through a full season doing that. And now, knock on wood, he's going to do it.
Yeah.
But now the question is going to be, the narrative will change to how many seasons can he do that before his body begins to break down. So it's not an issue. I think again, going all the way back to Scott Brooks, who by the way, I think when you look at that, that's maybe a whole nother debate for another episode. But
how well he's doing
in
Washington,
yeah,
Coach of the Year, possibly.
Yeah. Backtracking, was that not a huge mistake? Was it or was it not? Well, I mean, we can't really get into that at this point because we've got less than 5 minutes left.
We can talk about this next time.
But again, I think Scott Brooks had maxed out his usage and Kevin Durant's. And I mean, it's not like I would expect Kevin Durant's usage to go down at Golden State because that's a roster full of all-stars.
Right.
I wouldn't expect Westbrook's to go down, but I wouldn't expect it really to go up significantly because I think you've already got the guy maxed.
Right. But the years that he did play with Kevin Durant, he played slightly less minutes, not even a whole minute less, but he wasn't playing at he wasn't playing at the same pace that he's playing now.
That's what I'm saying.
So what I'm saying is you're talking about how long can he do this? Do you think at this point in his career, 8 years in, do you think the fact that he didn't have to play like that all those years, could that help him to where he may be able to do this for a longer time now because he didn't need to go all out those previous years?
It could potentially be exactly what you're saying, but here's my question: when you look at a guy like Russell Westbrook, when you look at Russell Westbrook, I was thinking of a story. Can I chase a rabbit here with my
go for it.
Okay, so your sister, my daughter, Amy. By the way, if you're not catching on, this is my son, whom I'm very proud of. So we were talking about Kevin Durant. This goes back when Kevin Durant's restaurant closed down in Oklahoma City. And she asked me, she said, what do you think they're going to do there? I said, I'd take another star and put a star's name on it. And so Amy was like, so instead of KD's, it'll be WB's. Like, Westbrook is not 2 words. But here's my question about Russell Westbrook. When you look at him, is he approaching his prime? Is he at his prime, or is he past his prime? He's clearly not past his prime, so we'll remove that. So the question is he approaching his prime, or is he at his prime?
I think he's either in his prime right now, or he's right there on the next season maybe. And the reason I say that is because while he's had a great couple of years, he's still getting better.
Right.
And so I know age is eventually going to become a factor, but I think when you're continuing to put up better numbers year after year, I think you're still growing there. When you look at LeBron, what he did for all those years, and now you're looking at his stats and he's starting to decline, I think we're still 5-6 years away from seeing Westbrook do that.
The point is, though, 5-6 years for a guy who plays at a normal pace, is that accelerated? Because, once you hit the prime, which is the greatest years of, and it seemed like Michael Jordan was in his prime for a decade. It's what it felt like growing up watching him. I don't know how much you remember of watching. You probably got the Washington Wizards version of Michael Jordan in your head. But it just seemed like when he was winning those 6 titles with a break in between from basketball, it was like he was always in his prime. But again, he didn't play at that breakneck speed. And you just wonder why you've got a valid point that he didn't have to with Kevin Durant. The question becomes is how long, once you hit your prime, that window, it's not, the window is wider before you get to your prime.
Right.
It narrows when you hit your prime. And then you mentioned LeBron. Once you go down on the downhill side of your prime, that window just looks so small. Mentally, what does it do to you? because it takes its toll physically, and we know just by you Russell Westbrook's one of those guys you can just look at and see this dude's in great shape.
And that's why I think it's hard. I think it's hard to compare this to. Are we out of time?
No, go ahead.
I think
we're
it's
out
hard,
of time, but go ahead.
I think it's hard to compare this to anybody else when you talk about what this is going to do to his body because we've never seen anyone play like this before.
And it's going to be a fun experiment to watch.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. And people said all year, well, he can't do this all season. Mm-hmm. Well, he's done it so far. And so people say, he can't do this for his whole career, but we don't know that. And I also think as you get older, you see guys now, like Dwayne Wade is a perfect example of someone who has shaped his game to fit his age.
But I don't see Russell Westbrook having the mentality to do that. Not that he can't. Russell Westbrook is one of those guys, in my opinion, he's either all in or he's not. I mean, he is that guy. I don't see him saying, I'm going to take less shots. I'm going to run at a slower pace. I'm going to take nights off. I don't see him doing any of that. I feel like his mentality, he is, you talk about athletes and being a different persona on the court and off the court. Mm-hmm. Now, we've seen his fights and spats with the media. He's a chippy type of guy, but he's clearly a different guy on the hardwood than he is anywhere else.
Right.
He becomes a different person, and I don't see him, and maybe it'll be different 5 years from now, but I don't see him saying, I'm that guy who can take a night off. I'm that guy who can run at a slower pace, take a playoff here, a playoff there. I don't see that happening in him because he's too much of a competitor.
Right. Well, 7-8 years ago, could you see LeBron doing that?
Yeah. I honestly could. And I will tell you this, to that point, remember they were gonna rest all the Cleveland starters a couple weeks ago in Oklahoma City. And my understanding was it was LeBron saying, no, we're not going to rest.
Right.
This is too big of a game. But I could. There's guys that I can see Kevin Durant doing it. And I can see it. I mean, you saw Kevin Durant take plays off when he was in Oklahoma City. So there's those guys that they just know they're good enough. And the truth is Russell Westbrook is good enough to take a playoff here or there. He just, his mentality doesn't allow him to do it.
And I love that. And I agree with you. It's hard to see him slowing down or changing his pace, but guys mature, and you look at 5 years from now, or where was Westbrook 5 years ago? Mm-hmm. Bricking layups off the glass because he was going so fast he couldn't control his speed, but he's adjusted that, and I think it's very possible and likely that Westbrook will evolve his game to extend his career even past his prime.
We got to go, but I just want to throw something out there for you. Did he adjust his speed to the game, or did he adjust his game to the speed? What I'm meaning is he's still every bit as fast as he was. He's just gotten better.
Yeah.
All right, real quick before we close out, I'm going to let you take we're 3 minutes over time, but that's okay. Taj Gibson moving into the starting role. Mm-hmm. We talked about that. I said he wanted those points off the bench, but clearly it's made a difference having him as a starter. Share a couple thoughts on that, and then we'll close out. Because I know Zach Lowe is also he was in favor of this move from the get-go. Your thoughts?
Let's see. Utah, he had 15 points as a starter, and then I don't remember him playing that well against San Antonio.
Well, that was his first game to start,
right? Yeah, and that's fair. And I think I wanted him in the starting lineup, and I talked about that on the last podcast we did, and you said that you thought he would stay on the bench,
right?
Correct? Sorry, I'm trying to pull up some stats here. Let's see, there was really no bench scoring outside of Enes Kanter with Taj Gibson in the starting lineup. You had Abrinas with 5 points and Sabonis with 2 points. So, could that become a problem? I think yes. And so, it's good as long as you've got the whole starting lineup finishing with more than 10 points, but I don't think that's... So I think Taj Gibson in the starting lineup could eventually become a problem, and which changes my mind because I wanted him as a starter, but now I'm seeing that potentially it could have been better to leave Sabonis in the starting lineup.
All right, he's Craig. I'm Matt. Thanks for listening. Polar opposites. We didn't really disagree on a whole lot this time. We'll have to get better at that. Thunder off until Tuesday night. Road trip, 2-game trip to Brooklyn and to Toronto. We'll be back next week to talk more and maybe disagree some more. Check us out, Heartland Sports, heartland-sports.com. Lots of Thunder coverage going on there. Thanks to the Thunder guys who do a great job for us. Have a great weekend. Did I say weekend? Have a great week.
When I wake up, yeah, I know I'm gonna be the man who wakes up next to you. And when I go out